John, thank you very, very much. And we should explain the Pope is the leader of the world's 1.5 billion Catholics, not all Christians. So that's why this could actually, in South Carolina, there are areas where they're very religious and very Christian folks. They don't necessarily buy what the Pope has to say. But regardless, Hedley Heath Manning says all of this is not going to hurt Donald Trump one iota. Ashley Pratt says it could help some of his opponents, namely Marco Rubio. All right, so let's pick this apart, Hedley Heath. I mean, the Pope made these comments. He felt he was asked about it, and he obviously wanted to get this off his chest. Why do you think he did it to the degree he did?
The Pope was asked to discuss Donald Trump, and he made a remark about building walls versus building bridges. It could have been a remark specifically about the wall that Donald Trump says he'll build with Mexico. It could also be more of a metaphor for building bridges with other people or having a spirit of unity, which certainly I would say Donald Trump hasn't brought to this campaign. But the bottom line is, in the next series of contests, which will mostly take place in southeastern states, these are states that have fewer than 5% of people who identify themselves as Catholic. Even the Christians in this country who have respect for the papacy have learned that this Pope has political opinions about climate change, progressive economics, that they don't necessarily agree with. So you can respect the Pope's opinion without having to change your vote based on what he has to say.
All right, and I'm going to tread lightly. I'm a Catholic, so I do think it is odd that the Pope, talk about, a candidate's talking about building walls when looking at a live shot of the Vatican right now, if any one of you have been to Vatican City, it is surrounded by walls. So I don't know you get it appreciated with this live shot here, but if you were to take an aerial shot, well, there you go, the wall. My people, the Italians, built the wall, by the way, Marone. But I'm just saying, I'm looking at that, Ashley, and I'm saying, I don't know if anyone from the Vatican should be talking about anyone else talking about walls. What do you think?
Look, the Pope is fair game here in the sense that Donald Trump has brought to light something that has upset a lot of religious conservatives, not only Republican Catholics, but this plays well to the Southern evangelical base because they see the Pope as someone who has taken a very liberal stance on a host of issues. The Pope has touted a social justice agenda, and that is something that he has really put forward when it comes to climate change, immigration, and a whole host of other issues. So I think Donald Trump has struck a nerve here, and it will play well in the Southern states going ahead into those primaries. But objectively looking at it, you do have Rubio, who is a Catholic, and I think at this point, going into Florida and Ohio in the March 15th races, what you're going to end up seeing is him using this to his advantage maybe. But I do think the Catholics that are already in Rubio's corner, it's not as though he's going to gain any traction from doing it, but I do think that's a point to make.
I don't even know about that. And the reason why, stepping back and looking at this, whether you're Catholic or any one of the other faiths over which the Pope has no input here, to at least your point of view. A lot of people in America could take offense to his remarks, fairly or not, because we are a nation of immigrants. We've opened our doors to, well, everybody. And I think whether you don't like the tone of Donald Trump, that's one thing. But I don't think anyone could fault anyone in this country for wanting to say we got to get a handle on this problem, we've got to get ahead of this problem. So I think even among Catholics, and I could be wrong, Adley, but even among Catholics, I mean, it could be ticking them off.
That's right, and I believe Christians who are evangelical or born again or Catholic or whatever their identification can understand that there are more progressive Christians, there are more conservative Christians. We can agree to disagree about some of these issues and still share the same faith and share the same foundation. So ultimately, I believe that voters in this election, they've decided how they feel about Donald Trump. If they like the guy, they like the guy. Many Republicans are put off by the guy. In fact, as many as 39% of Republicans say that they would never support Donald Trump. And so he's been a divisive figure, but these remarks from the Pope aren't going to change anything about that. Evangelical leaders have already voiced their opinions, some of them critical and concerned about Donald Trump, and some of them not so much.
Go ahead, Ashley.
But I think this hurts somebody like Ted Cruz, though, who just yesterday was polling ahead as the front runner nationally against Donald Trump, because going into these Southern evangelical states that have, large populations of religious conservatives, who are Ted Cruz's base, I think, taking on the Pope to an extent for his social justice agenda will only help Donald Trump. And there looks like there could be a real upset in South Carolina come Saturday when we see Ted Cruz surging. But at the same time, these comments, I think, kind of spur Donald Trump ahead. And as we know,
we don't know. The polls are what they are. I mean, Donald Trump still has a very big lead. It wasn't quite the lead he had back in December over Ted Cruz, but he still has a big lead. The battle could be for second. But these polls, as you folks remind remind me, often change. But is anyone surprised the Pope has this view? Any Pope. They're obviously going to speak out in defense of those who are outcasts of society or ostracized or not getting a chance for a better life. He has said much the same in Europe about the refugee problem, not necessarily calling European leaders and questioning whether they're Christian. So maybe there is a different tone here. But is anyone surprised he said this, or that even Donald Trump could capitalize on this?
I don't think it's all that surprising, given that this race has been full of surprises.
Right.
And I think the Pope coming out and making a statement, he's really trying to take a stand and wading into political waters. And we've heard many Catholic Republicans say before, stick to your day job. And I think at this point we might see that coming up from Republicans again.
All right. We'll see what happens, ladies. Again, the Pope is free to speak his mind on these issues. People will interpret politics into it. Donald Trump is free to respond to them, and we'll see whether God likes one more than the other. I have no idea. Ladies, thank you. In the meantime,